let's discover some website subdomains using Sublistre. And when you see commands like this, you can say to yourself, aha, this is Linux. So we need to come over to Kali. I have launched my Kali Linux VM, and I am sitting right here waiting to be logged on. Now, sometimes if you come here and you just boot up Kali, it'll prompt you right away for the username, and we'll type that in, root, R-O-O-T. We'll press next, and the password is the reverse, toor, T-O-O-R, and we'll sign in. Now, Kali Linux, like Microsoft Windows, will lock your screen after a while of inactivity. So when that happens, I'll show you how it looks a little bit different. When you have the Kali desktop here, you may or may not see some stuff here. You'll start collecting things as you go. We need to open up a terminal window so that we can issue these commands. Over on the left-hand side here are the favorites. This is a set of launchers for tools. And the terminal window is this one right here, this black little terminal window. Otherwise, we have Firefox, we have Explorer, or what they call files. We have the Metasploit Framework console, we have Armitage, which we're not using in this class. We have Burp Suite, which I think we're using in this class. We have Maltego, which we will use, and a few other things. We have a text editor. So what we're interested in right now is the terminal window. So I'm bringing my mouse over here, I'm clicking terminal. And here's a terminal window. Now, of course, this is too small. So what you do when Kali is too small, now watch what happens. You can, of course, choose to drag and expand this, but it doesn't really help you much, does it? I mean, you might be able to go like this. It might expand this a bit. That may work, or you can click enter full screen mode. When you do this, watch what happens. It may work, but sometimes dragging and entering full screen mode only leaves you a window this size and everything's like black all around it. So if that doesn't work, here's a little trick. You can type X. In fact, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to come back here and exit full screen mode to make this smaller again, and I'm going to sort of resize this whole thing. Yeah, I'm just going to resize this window so it's small again, and I just want to show you a little trick that works real well. So let's say that just dragging and resizing doesn't work for you. You can, at a terminal window, type xrender and press enter. And that will show you all of these screen resolutions that you can run. And so I can have different screen resolutions, and I can see what I'm at right now. And you can then set a screen resolution which will force your VMware machine to get bigger. So one that I like to do is I'll say xrender tac s for setting it to, for my particular laptop size here, 1680 by 1050. Press enter. And then the thing gets bigger, and let me just sort of reposition it, and that's all good. So that's something you can do if you need to. Here's another thing I like. You can resize, or zoom in rather, I should say, a terminal window just by clicking view and zoom in. And so when I zoom in, notice how the whole thing gets bigger, including the stuff that we're looking at. So I zoom in a couple of times here. Now, unlike Windows where we type CLS, I'm going to type clear, just to kind of clear all that other stuff so we can just see it over here. I'm going to move this over here so we can see some of the commands that we're going to use with Sublistre. So Sublistre, just bring them over here, we can just see them a little better. First of all, we have to go get it. Now we might have it already, so let's just try this. Let's apt, and it's the original command is apt-get, but you don't have to do that. You can apt, shorthand, update, and apt tac y install sublist with a 3r. So let's just check this. Let's see if we need to update anything. I'm going to just bring this over a bit so we can watch it. Hopefully it won't take too long. Okay, so it's saying nothing to upgrade. Okay, that's fine. And now it's getting, it has downloaded Sublistre. It's unpacking it. It's setting it up. and then we'll be able to use it. So I'm going to pause this for a second. As soon as it's done, we're going to come back. Oh, no need to. It's there, right there. So now when we look at the commands, we can just say Sublister TAC-H for help. So we can say Sublist3r, 3r TAC-H. Give us a little help here. Okay, so we can use this. We can use -D to specify the domain. We can -B brute force, which we will in a moment. We can specify ports. We can be verbose. We can say how many simultaneous threads will run at the same time, which search engines, and how do you want to use the output. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set the domain to google.com. We're going to set it, and you remember the T is for threads, right? So we're going to run 3 simultaneous processes or threads using Bing as our search engine. So let's do this command right here. Let me just scoot this over so we can see it a little bit. And so I'm going to say Sublist3r, Sublister. TAC-D, the domain is google.com. TAC-T, 3 threads. TAC-E, Bing. Enter. And so what we're doing is we're enumerating subdomains for google.com. And we're doing it using Bing rather than Google. So we can see that Google has, according to Bing, all of these subdomains. I'm curious about trying this against, say, CompTIA. Does CompTIA have subdomains? So let's try it. CompTIA. Oh, CompTIA is CompTIA.org, of course. Hang on a second, not CompTIA.com. Up arrow, CompTIA.org. Let's try CompTIA here. And according to Bing, what subdomains exist for CompTIA? Marketing, meet, my channel partners, syndication, help desk. Okay, that's cool. You can try it yourself. Now, why do we search for subdomains? Because subdomains are targets in and of themselves. And sometimes a child domain, which is run by some people over in a corner in their own office, might not be as well protected as the main headquarters where the main domain is. So sometimes it's a very good place to go, especially if we're looking for some sort of like far out stuff that is way off in a corner. Okay, so we can see now that there are these subdomains. I wonder if we just searched on port 80, what could we come up with? Let me up arrow a couple of times here. So we're going to, instead of having 3 threads, we're going to search just on port 80. Search port 80 with the same information, searching Bing. Press enter. So now let's see if we can enumerate anything. And so we can see, these subdomains, when we find open ports, it means there's a website listening on port 80. Oh, I wonder, let's try some more unusual things. Are any of them foolish enough to allow telnet? 23. I doubt it, but you never know. Hit enter. Boy, if any of them allowed telnet on a server, that would be pretty crazy stuff, man. That would be pretty awful. But you never know. So all we're doing here is we're just knocking on a port based on subdomains. Okay, so we can see that Google, none of their subdomains, none of their servers is listening on telnet. That's a comfort, at least for the Google people. How about any of them FTP? Port 21? Press enter. I'm going to see if any of them, any of those subdomains have a server with an FTP server. Now, this is much more possible. Let's see if any of them show up. So we can see 68 unique subdomains have been found here. Any of them listening on port 21? Nope. Okay. So this is what we can do with Sublister. And of course, we can look at some of the other search engines and try other targets and other ports. You should try a whole bunch of variations yourself on some of your own targets. So that is discovering website subdomains with Sublister.